On the 21st of February, Akeem and I lost our daughter, Azari Jordan Bell. It's like they all knew that they'd failed my baby and me and my family. I broke it to my 6-year-old, then 6-year-old, who turned 7 on the 9th of March, that he'd lost a baby brother. There's nothing worse than this. There really isn't. Because basically when I try and start from just the day that I lost her, my body starts fading me, like I feel like it did when I lost her. What is going to give us some kind of peace to move forward is laying our daughter to rest. That they're making continuous mistakes, and that's not fair. That the people who made all these mistakes with us need to acknowledge that.
Me and Joella, we feel like we've been neglected by the NHS, and when my daughter was trying to make her way into the world, I feel like the neglect was like clear as day.
My name's Joella Olivia Williams, and I'm the proud mother of Azari Jordan Bell. And beside me is the proud father of Azari Jordan Bell.
My name's Akeem Bell. I'm here to raise awareness on NHS negligence.
We're here to talk about our experience and our journey in the loss of our daughter. I've also got a son, Amori, who recently turned 7, who was going to be the proud big brother of Azari Jordan Bell. As excruciating as this is, so early after the passing of our daughter, we want to share the journey so far, because we feel like we've been neglected in so many ways. Me personally, I feel like I've been neglected all my life, and I've had to push and push for answers and help and support. But this is worse than anything I've ever been through before, and a lot of people know me as someone very strong, but this time I don't have a choice, because we've got to bury our daughter and sort out funeral arrangements. And the only thing that can bring us peace at the moment is getting answers, is getting a response from our complaint, and then getting justice for our daughter, Azari Jordan Bell.
The neglect of the NHS, it started on the 21st of February, the Sunday. And this was from a partner. She had been admitted to hospital the Thursday of that week.
I've got a lot of illnesses, 8 to be exact, on my diagnoses, in which I get in different letters reminding me. One of my most recent diagnoses is idiopathic intracranial hypertension, which was diagnosed with in 2020 when I went to Specsavers to check out my eyes, and they said that I've got swollen optic nerves. This was shortly after I found out I was pregnant, because me and Kim started trying for a baby really quite quickly, because we fell in love really quickly, and we decided that we want to build a family. So we decided to plan for a baby. And then, despite all my previous illnesses, such as lupus, which they were unable to find, every time I kept saying that I felt like there was something wrong with my body, the doctors were unable to identify what was wrong through blood tests, through things. Also, when I was 14, I kept telling the doctors that I was feeling pains in my chest, and they fobbed it off for growing pains, because I was quite a skinny girl but was developing within my chest area. When I dropped down at school, after years of saying that I've got chest pains, that's when they realised I had a hole in my heart, and they had to operate quite quickly. because I could have died. So there's been a lot throughout life. That's just a bit of a backstory on the way I felt like there was been a lack of support mentally, physically, emotionally, and the way that the NHS have let me down to find out what's wrong with me. Let's fast forward now to 2020 when they found out that I've got um, swollen optic nerves. I was told by the hospital that I may have to have a surgery. I was told by the hospital that whilst I'm being transferred to Queen Elizabeth for specialist care for pressure and swelling on my brain, that they would keep in touch with me to see how I am. Whilst being in early pregnancy, I was really scared about all my other conditions as well as this new one, which I didn't know much about because they failed to send us enough information so that we could understand how this would affect our baby and how this would affect the pregnancy. We as a family wanted to understand how this idiopathic intracranial hypertension would affect our baby. We were told by the consultant that the pregnancy hormones did not help this condition. At one point, I was feeling like that the consultant was telling me that I had to make a decision between saving my vision and my baby. The potential of me going blind and what being pregnant is how being pregnant is affecting this idiopathic intracranial hypertension, also known as IIH. That's where the stress began. Um, a couple of days before I lost my baby, I was told to go there because whilst I was left by City Hospital when they said they were going to check on me every week and my health started to deteriorate, I've also got a little baby who's fighting all of this with me. I had severe headaches, and Akeem just had to make sure that my son was okay, make sure that I'm okay, make sure that, you know, we did everything that we could despite the circumstances. And, you know, my belly was growing all throughout this time. I'd had my stay in City Hospital, then became an outpatient. They wasn't giving me enough information considering not only is this idiopathic intracranial hypertension a big deal, where I've been told on the first outpatient appointment that I may have to have surgery despite me being pregnant, where they operate from my brain, put something into my head through to my stomach, which is obviously going to scare your average person, let alone someone who's pregnant. And there was a lack of extra empathy and extra support when I was saying, how does this affect my baby? How does this affect my baby? My anxiety was all over the place because my vision was going funny. But when me and Akeem seen that we had a little active baby inside of me on the scan, it really was reassuring, like nothing else mattered anymore, because the first scan showed us that our baby was growing and developing. And then we finally got the due date because we'd had an earlier scan whilst I was in City Hospital suffering with this IIH condition when I first found out about it. That early scan, when I had that and the baby was just absolutely tiny, I had to beg for it for a week. But when we did have that little scan and my son and Akeem came to visit me and we all looked at it and whatever, it was just kind of like, yeah, I don't really know what's going on with my brain with the pressure and whatever, but this little baby is fighting, and this little baby is still well and the heart was beating.
So on the Thursday, she had been having abdominal pains at the house. She had a call and advice from a friend to say to speak to your midwife. And the midwife explained to Joella if she's having pains with her stomach that it's for immediate to go to the hospital.
Obviously, this is what the community midwife said, that she thinks I'm only a couple of days off the 20-week mark where they'll see me at maternity. And if that's the case, then they might still see me anyway. So within that time, I've got ready and I've caught a taxi to Russell Hall Hospital. And then I've got up out, and then the belly pains are so severe that it felt like I was going to faint. So they put me in a wheelchair. And then they were saying what's wrong, and I couldn't even say what was wrong because I was in so much pain in my abdomen. So they put me in a wheelchair and they took me up to maternity, and they gave me a heart scan on the baby after leaving me for about 15-20 minutes. They just kept asking me what's my name and how far gone I am and telling me I need to answer because it's important. But because I was in so much severe pain from my abdomen, I couldn't work out how far gone I was, and the community midwife did not get back to me with exactly how far gone I was. And I knew it was somewhere between 19 and 20. And they found out that I was 19 and something, which meant I wasn't far off the cut-off point to be able to be seen by maternity, who are obviously the specialists to look into the abdomen pain. Um, they wheeled me into a room and they said it's really important. And do I have my green notes? Clearly, I didn't have my green notes because I'm screaming out in pain at this point.
Now, for a long time of period, I don't know what's going on because I haven't been informed or anything else. So in that aspect, I was just imagine that they was trying to sort out everything to do with Joella as she had arrived. There's a bit of confusion for me because obviously I wasn't there, so I'm not sure of everything that went down, like live and direct whilst everything was going on. But what I can tell you is that from start to finish, there was always a show with Joella's condition, with Joella's state, and with how where Joella would needed to be placed.
So then they wheeled me up, and all the way whilst I'm getting wheeled to maternity around the hospital, I'm screaming, saying, something's wrong, please help me, and screaming. The midwife, well, not midwife, sorry, the nurses, put me in a room, and obviously I think I was left in that room for at least 15 minutes because they had to find out who I was and they had to find out how far gone I was. Whilst they was doing that, they probably found out about all my other conditions, um, which probably led to their decision of sending me down to A&E. So then when they got me onto the bed, and then they did they did the sound scan, which is like not an ultrasound scan with the monitor, but a sound scan. And then they said it's a really healthy heartbeat. But then they were asking me loads of questions about all my other conditions. But I said, we don't need to focus on any other condition. Can we just focus on my baby? Because my midwife told me to come and I've got my specialist appointment that I'd been waiting for weeks for the very next day. But she said, no, we only see people past 20 weeks and over, and you're not 20 weeks yet. And I said, I've only got a few days. Like, please, can you just do something? Please, can you just do something? Look into the pain, like whatever it is that you can do just to check why I could be in this much pain. But they said, no, we can't see anyone past 20 weeks. And this is the thing that I would like to know from anybody that's watching this video. Like, um, just like, if you're a couple of days off, like, is there any hospitals that did see you in the maternity? Or did you also have to go to A&E, despite being high risk and having other conditions? But there's a couple of things that's been explained to me, but I still don't understand how if it was only a few days off that I couldn't have got the treatment that I got downstairs in terms of a gynecology check and stuff like that whilst I was up in maternity before they sent me down. Because whilst I was down in A&E, they were saying that they don't have the specialist down here because I'm pregnant. Also, the triage down at A&E, when she seen me, she agreed with me when I said, if I've come in for abdominal pain, shouldn't maternity have seen me there rather than me come here despite all my other challenges? Because at this point, yeah, my head was hurting as well. At this point, yeah, everything's all over the place because I've been in abdominal pain for so long. And I'm just confused at why I can't be seen by the specialist who would have seen me if I was a couple of days more into it, into my pregnancy. So obviously my IIH is going to act up, my lupus is going to act up, everything's going to act up because I'm now more stressed than I've ever been. That in the lift, the nurse said to me, I can't rule out that there's nothing wrong with your baby, even though we've heard a healthy heartbeat. But I'm going to have to send you to A&E anyway. And if they think there's anything wrong with your baby, they'll send you right back up. But there was no headaches or anything. It was abdominal pain where my baby is developing. Anyway, I asked the triage, like, if the maternity is best suited to my abdominal pain and pregnancy, shouldn't I be there? And she said, I can't lie, I do get what you're saying and I do agree with you. So the fact that she agreed with me, the fact that she agreed with me made me feel very scared at this point that she's agreeing with me and that should be what it should be. And I felt like just running back up there, but I was in so much pain that I couldn't do anything. And then, I'm updating my partner, Akeem Bell, the father of Azari, Jordan Bell. And I'm updating and I'm saying that, like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. They wouldn't see me at maternity. They told me I have to come to A&E. We were concerned, but Akeem has continuously been by my side and made sure that he's been by my side throughout the whole IAH. He's been throughout my side through every appointment. But the minute we found out that our baby was still fighting and active and everything, it was like, we had hope and we had faith that everything's going to be okay. Then then I can't really, everything's kind of muffled. But basically all this, I just kept having to press the buzzer so this is when I first realized that the buzzer, no one's gonna keep coming. So I had to just keep pulling. I wanted to pull the drip for me to go and ask people what is going on. But they never even had the drip on a proper thing where I could pull it. That they kept tying it with a glove to some light or something. So I literally couldn't move. And I just had to keep waiting and waiting for people to come to tell me what's going on. But this is what I'm talking about in terms of the extra care. I was just wondering what is going on, what is going on. I kept pressing this buzzer and no one's coming. So I'd kind of like fall asleep in between talking to my partner and my mom and my grandma. And when a medic came to me and said, do I know what's going on? And I said, well, not really, no. And he said, we believe you could potentially have meningitis. And me and my mum and my nan were just so confused because my mum then thought that I hadn't told them about the pressure and swelling on my brain, because obviously they're very not similar, but it was just kind of like that was just out of nowhere, like meningitis, how, why? And he was just kind of like, I can't remember what he said as to why they come to that conclusion, but they said they're going to get me some antibiotics. And as for my abdominal pain, they asked me if it was still there, but I'd already had so much painkillers that it wasn't there the way that it was, but it was still there. So I waited for quite some time. I know that it had gone dark, and then I still never had the gynecologist person come and check me. When a doctor came, a different doctor from all the other doctors, she got really quite angry at the other doctor that had been assessing me, the regular one that had been coming, that couldn't seem to finish what she wanted to do with me because she kept getting called. Basically, a doctor came and she was very angry, and she said, do a rapid test on her. I said, but that's going to take days, isn't it, to find out? Or it's going to take, like, how would we find out? They said, oh, we have rapid swabs now, 20 minutes we find out. So obviously within the 20 minutes, I must have fell asleep, and I woke up to a porter saying, which part of isolation should we put her in? I just was scared at this point. Like, what was the COVID test positive? And then they said, well, it looks like it, because you got to go to isolation, mate. So I was so confused that this is the way that I'm being told that I have like a deadly virus which we all know about, on top of everything. And on top of the abdominal pain that I've come in for. But basically now I'm in isolation with a woman who's screaming her head off, which is now triggering my head pain. And then other people just coughing and crying. And I've never known anything like it. And I'm pregnant, and I'm just wondering, am I supposed to be here on this COVID isolation ward in A&E? And then I'm just that nobody's thought to put back up my drip because they've took it off with the glove, and my drip's just there, so the drip isn't going into me anymore. And I'm still waiting for a gynecology examination in which they said that they couldn't do in A&E because they need a specialist because I'm pregnant. Which brings me back to the point, it shouldn't have been seen in maternity. So anyway, I'm in this isolation, and then finally at around 9:30, the gynecology people come, and they say that they're going to check me, No, I don't like these checks. I don't think anyone does with them going into you and whatever. But he did that, and it was just in, out. Oh, looks fine, in, out. But I was just a bit confused. Was that a proper check? Because even when you're 25 or over, you know that you have the smear test at 25 to check for cervical cancer, and that was very in depth. So I thought that because I'm pregnant, aren't you going to do it in depth? It was like literally a couple of seconds in and out, and they said it was fine. But then they tried to listen again, like they did when I first came into the hospital with the little microphone thing to hear the heartbeat, and they couldn't get it. So within that, because they couldn't get the heartbeat and they couldn't hear it, within those moments, I was really, really scared. And I was trying to phone my partner or my son, but at this point it's late, and I think they put my son to bed or whatever, and I couldn't get through, and I was just so scared at this point. I felt like I've lost, like my baby's gone at this point. But then straight away, because they couldn't get it on that thing, straight away they went and they got the ultrasound scan, and then was able to see the heartbeat. So was able to see the heartbeat. So my baby was still alive at this point. I was just happy. I was just happy because I already just spent like at least 10-15 minutes just wondering if my baby didn't make it. So we get to the 21st. I have to get to the point at 6 o'clock was when I first started to feel pains. I first started to feel pains in my stomach, really, really badly. And I'd felt these pains before when I'd been at home, but I ended up just being really sick and going to sleep. And we thought it was the medication because I'd only just started it. But this pain was real.
There's actually one doctor, nurse, that was in that time frame that said to Joella, because she was in these pains. And I'm not a female, so you need to understand that I will never understand what contractions feels like, what giving birth feels like at any stage. Only a woman could present that and tell us how that feels, kind of thing. But we'll still never experience it. Joella was experiencing these contractions, and one nurse on that ward told her to go back to sleep. So to me, that like Joella would have lost the baby by being told to go back to sleep, because that's how you're gonna sleep off your pain while she was pregnant.
Because I'd already had a child, I knew that these pains were like contractions. So I said, it feels like contractions, but I know that my baby wasn't due till July the 19th. So I felt like this was contractions, but I knew that we were in February, so I'm just trying to tell myself that it's not contractions, it's just obviously the pain that I came in with, but worse. Then I went to the toilet myself, and then there was just trickles of blood. The nurse said she's going to get an on-call doctor. As soon as she's seen the blood, she said she's going to get an on-call doctor because this is Sunday. And they don't have any doctors on the ward, and no doctors has come and seen me in the morning, in the afternoon. And then basically, time was passing, and then I needed to go to the toilet again. I was pressing the button and no one was coming again. Like, this had been a running theme throughout the whole stay, that people wasn't coming, not coming to the point where the other old ladies, like really, really old ladies, were calling the buzzer saying, I've called for you, love, because they're concerned about me. We've made it like a little thing to support each other, to get people there quicker, because they couldn't go to the toilet themselves either at some point, so we all couldn't. But then obviously I found the strength and started to, when I went to the toilet by myself for the first time, there was blood. So obviously, I went back to bed, thinking that, on-call doctor was going to come within the hour. But then like 1 hour passed, like 2 hours passed, like 3 hours passed. And then I was just getting up, and I was just asking them if someone's come in. And then the one nurse just kept saying, you need to get back into your bed. I can't call no one unless you're in your bed. Now, obviously that's a lie, because you can still call someone with me right here. I'm in too much pain to just be lying down and doing nothing. I'm in too much pain. Could someone help? I need help. It's like contractions. Could someone help me? Then the nurses would it was just this one nurse, obviously, and it was just this one nurse, and it's getting later, and I'm scared. And then, my partner's just, me and my partner had been on the phone for the whole day, but like we just came off to for him to make dinner, or we came off for when Because no, he was starting to stay on the phone when the doctor was there, because I can't really explain why no one's explaining why nothing's happening. I can only explain to my partner, the father of Azari Jordan Bell, that basically someone's coming, and the pain was getting worse and worse and closer. Basically, it was just kind of like, I just felt like no one was coming, and I may as well have been at home. Because obviously, if I was in that severe pain at home, then I would have called an ambulance, then I would have been in A&E, then I maybe would have got seen quicker than being actually on a ward where they're just telling me that because it's Sunday and there's no doctor, they have to try and get an on-call doctor. So two people finally came in some uniform, but then they just looked at me screaming. And I came off the phone to Rakeem so that he could go and sort out my son because someone was finally here. Little did he know, those two people just looked at me and said that they need to get specialists. But I thought all that time I was waiting for specialists. So around 9 or something is when someone came to listen to the heartbeat again for the third time. And they couldn't hear the heartbeat. They couldn't hear the heartbeat again. But because I'd been in all this severe pain, I thought, okay, maybe actually this is actually it now. Like, they can't hear it. Then basically, that woman who did the heartbeat scan, she didn't come back. But she said she was going to go and get people, the higher people. But she didn't come back.
There was no sense of urgency. There was no sense of care. And to me, it's like, wow, like, you've just announced that you can't find the heartbeat where you found it the day previous to everything that's going on. And there's no sense of urgency. There's no emergency care.
I FaceTimed Azari's dad, Akeem. And I just couldn't speak at this point. I couldn't speak. Then the pain came again in a big wave. And then my daughter came out of me. And then I looked under the blanket and I seen a head, and I just tried to unsee it. And obviously we'd been calling the buzzer. Because Akeem will tell you that we were calling the buzzer whilst I was on FaceTime. And then, I was screaming and screaming like, no. And obviously I was saying, is that my baby? Akeem was on FaceTime. Like I said, I was on FaceTime to him. I didn't say nothing. Then the pain just came. Then that happened. So everything happened over FaceTime for Akeem to hear and see. Once, obviously, the baby was out of me, we were just asking, is it dead? Like, is it dead? Is it dead? There was no crying or kicking or screaming from the baby, of course. It was silent. And I'd seen a head, and whenever the nurses decided to get there, there was a lot of other people there as well. But obviously they came too late. So basically it was about 5 hours in total. Akeem kept asking on the phone, is my baby dead? And no one was answering. There was 2 nurses at the side of me, and the baby was between my legs. A doctor came, and then wow, there was loads of people at this point. Looking very shocked, looking very confused, opening the blanket, putting down the blanket, opening the blanket, putting down the blanket. It's like they all knew that they'd failed my baby and me and my family, because of the way that they was looking at each other and the way that they was looking at me.
I would like to know about the time frames, the time period, why it took for a doctor so long, because it really took 4 hours for a relative doctor to come out and make sure that Joella's gone through the birthing procedures. My whole angle point with speaking on this particular subject is that we need to make things more like this, a solid foundation. Make sure that just because a woman is pregnant and she's starting at 1, 2, 3 weeks, we need to consider that as life. We need to consider it as, we can't just have a woman that's carrying a child, a baby that's going to develop into the world, that could work for the NHS, could be a footballer, that could be the next singer. We need to be identifying these as importance life. There could be somebody screaming and urgent in pain on the COVID ward, and then my girlfriend that was screaming in pain, not only for herself, but she's pregnant as well. And if I presented a question to them, I guarantee you they wouldn't be able to answer me about which sense of care is which would they would have directed it. But with Joella, she has multiple illnesses on top of mental health, on top of physical, being pregnant, all in the row of three. And the way that she was treated from the first day to the Sunday, and this is what's crazy because she suffered neglect there and she suffered neglect to another hospital that she was transferred to. But with this particular neglect, it was speaking on the fact of the points like could they have been done more to even see that they not save Azari, but made sure that Joella was seen to correctly. Why Joella had to wait from 6 in the evening to 10 to 10 at night for a relevant person to come out. And this would be crazy if you was saying to me, like, we was at home, was waiting for them at home and the whole COVID era and everything else, and they had to be rushing around the whole city. But Joella was in hospital. Like, the maternity ward is literally a floor below. I want to know what took them so long for urgent care, why they placed Joella on a COVID ward around people with COVID and she's pregnant with a child. Should she have not been isolated by herself? These are the things I want answers to. There's so much a perspective of from start to finish of how our whole pregnancy was. But the main point I want to establish is on Thursday, I was told my baby girl had a nice and hot, a nice and healthy heartbeat on Thursday. To only 2 days later,
They kept saying they need to get me into a quiet place. They need to move me from here. They need to move me from here. Rather than answering whether the baby's dead, they kept saying they need to move me from here. They need to move me from here. I'm just confused at this point and obviously in shock. Akeem was like, I've asked if he can come. I've asked if the father can come. I've asked if the father can come. They've said yes. It didn't take much time for Akeem to get there. Did they tell you over the phone? They still didn't tell him over the phone that the baby was dead, or they didn't tell me. Their main priority was getting me into another room. Before that, they asked me if I want to know the sex of the baby. Obviously, I know at this point that the baby's dead because nobody's saying anything. Everyone keeps looking under the blanket, seeing my baby there and not saying anything. And if the baby was alive, then obviously, or if the if the baby was alive, obviously they would have took it from me quickly, and gone and put the baby in an incubator and or something. But nobody was doing anything, so I'd had to assume that my baby was dead. So, and so did Akeem, but he wanted to know before we got there. Because he wanted to know before we got there, because he wanted to know, because he deserved to know, but nobody was saying anything. Their main priority was just getting me into a room. I don't know why that was their main priority, rather than getting the baby, rather than, I don't know, giving me some kind of support, or I don't know. Then they told me that I need to put up my legs properly because I was just a bit in a different way or something. Like my whole body I just felt the emptiness as my baby came out of me, and just the pain stopped. And then it was just like physical pain had stopped, but a mental process of just surreal. Like a process of like, this can't be, it can't be. Of just shock and just confusion. And nobody actually validating what I'm confused about, or even Azari's dad. Like nobody's actually like giving us the answer. So obviously it's more confusing and it's more scary because nobody's actually said like. Then obviously they said like, do I want to know the sex? Then the doctor has come and he said that he needs to obviously get my placenta out, which meant that he would have to insert his hands inside of me to get the placenta out, which I just was saying no, or just saying no. But he pulled onto the umbilical cord, it broke off. So then the baby was obviously separated from me. I was the blanket was finally pulled away. They told me to push myself up, and they said if I want to know the sex, I have to push myself up. But I was weak and I was confused and I was still in shock. I couldn't move, but I moved and I did what they told me to do. And then the doctor, the lady said, the lady was trying to check, but she couldn't. She was like, I can't tell you. But then the doctor came and he said, the doctor came and then the lady doctor said to the male doctor, can you tell us what sex the baby is? And then the doctor looked, like examined and said, yes, it is a boy. And I said, a boy, a boy. And I kept repeating a boy and he kept saying, yes, it is a boy. So I was just trying to process. And then and then he was saying he's gonna have to get the placenta out of me. So if I don't let him insert his, fingers inside to get it out, then I'll have to go to theatre. So I was just beside myself, like, I don't want you in me. Then another lady came and she was like very nice. She was the same midwife that, what's her name? Kirsty. Anyway, she was the same midwife that took pictures of me and Azari's dad, and Azari together. Azari Bao, that we thought was a son. And she was the one that said to me, can I take your baby from the bed and put him in this box? And I said, I just nodded. And can you sit on here for me? Because she then got annoyed with the male doctor and said, I don't think she'll have to go to theatre. And she said, I feel like, she said, do you feel like we could do this, Joella? Do you think you could listen to me and we might have another way rather than the doctor having to, do what he's telling you or you having to go to theatre? And I nodded. And then she got me to sit on the chair with the bowl underneath. And she said, whenever I'm ready, just push. And then by this point, Akeem had arrived. And then they took me into the side room. And then we took the pictures and then we, started the process of, like, she asked us if we want to spend time with our baby. And then we did. And then we took pictures and we spent moments with who we thought was our son. And we mourned. And then after that, after that, the baby was there. And then in the morning, there was someone from PALS. There was the Sisters of the Ward saying that, oh, she's been off on annual leave. She's heard what's happened and it isn't right. And whoever I want to come and stay can come. My cousin was allowed in. My partner was allowed to stay, but he went home and came back early in the morning. I was told I was going home, but then I had some more checks and they weren't happy. So they got me transferred to QE. Then I never really had a chance to process, but Russell's Hall called me, asked me if there's anything they could do. Then the women's hospital called me and said, why am I not at the heartbeat scan at some point? Then there was a lot of negligence at QE, but we'll talk about that another time. Or, yeah, where they're just leaving me in corridors when I'm screaming in pain and stuff because of my head and stuff. Then I have a brain surgery. Then it didn't work. Then I have another brain surgery. Then I finally get let out.
The reason why I genuinely believe that we are pushing for neglect and we're looking into this case strongly and heavily, and we're trying to get relevant information from the public, from professionals, um, to receive any information on this kind of stance and on this kind of situation of neglect. And we say neglect in every single form.
I get a call on the Friday when I've just come home on the Thursday night, come back after what felt like hell, and then they basically tell us that they've got something to tell us that's come back from the post-mortem, which they said would take a very long time. Obviously, whilst I was still in Russell's, the Pounce woman came and I told her all my concerns. And in the space of time that I've been transferred to QE and had 2 brain surgeries, we've still got no response. Now, on the Friday, the midwife that I'd met when I had my first scan and I was really anxious, and she spoke to me about mental health support, and I decided to have perinatal mental health support, even though my mental health was nowhere near as bad as it's been in the past. I decided that, yeah, because of this IIH, I'm going to have the mental health support again, even though I didn't really, really need it. Little did I know, obviously, I was going to lose this baby. So that same woman called me asking me if there's anything that she could do for me, and she said that she wants to make an appointment to see me. But I just had brain surgery. I was in pain, and as you can imagine, I was feeling like you lot didn't do anything when I was calling for help for 5 hours. Like, what do you think you could do other than respond to my complaints? So I kind of like, put the phone down on her, but then she called me again when I'd got home the day after, and my priority was to just be with my family and explain to my son, because all this time when we was talking on FaceTime in the hospital and I've been transferred from one hospital to another and had 2 brain surgeries, he didn't know that he'd lost his sibling. So I broke it to my 6-year-old, then 6-year-old, who turned 7 on the 9th of March, shortly after coming out, which I didn't think I would make, that he'd lost a baby brother, and he already knew about heaven because I'd been doing Bible study. So it was quite not so bad as I thought to explain it to him. But obviously he had a lot of questions in terms of like, why didn't he get to see the baby? And why couldn't we just bring the baby's dead body back here? And obviously in his little mind he had a lot of questions. But on the Friday, we were called at about 2 o'clock telling us that there's something that's come up from the post-mortem. Now, I was saying, what could come up? Like, do we know why our baby died? Do we know, like, what is it? What is it? They were trying to say, like, oh, it's nothing to worry about, but it's just something that's come up. It's not the post-mortem results, but it's something else. So I'm thinking, like, you're not going to, like, after everything that's already happened, you're not going to make me wonder what it is for a whole weekend. So you either need to come and tell me now or not. Because by this point it had been 2 weeks that we mourned for a baby boy. And we knew that that it was a boy that we lost. Well, we thought we knew. And people had sent us gifts in his loving memory, and we thought we lost a boy. Now, this was the call on the Friday at 2 o'clock, where the community midwife said that there was something to tell us, but she's not qualified to tell us. And the other person that is qualified to tell us is out and not able to see us. So obviously Akeem called that person. And then that person was basically trying to say that, like, they're not supposed to tell me over the phone and that they have to see me in person and that they'll come and see me on Monday. But I was like, no, you can still come and see me on Monday, but you're going to tell me now because I'm not going, are we not a priority? Because we've already gone through enough experience to feel like pregnant people aren't a priority, and unborn babies aren't a priority, or anyone with mental health isn't a priority. But we, as Akeem Bell and Joella Olivia Williams, the parents of Azari Jordan Bell, our little boy, we don't feel like he's been a priority. We don't feel like we've been a priority. So you're gonna tell me? You're gonna tell us? So obviously Akeem was trying to talk, and then I was just like, listen, you need to tell us. So as she said herself, she felt backed up in a corner, but she told us that from the post-mortem, they found out that our baby had ovaries. Now, obviously, my scream, I feel like the world could have heard it because we had prayed for a little girl, and then they're just telling us that the postmortem found that the baby had ovaries. So the pro like for us to try and process that over the weekend, and then an hour after we'd already told my then 6-year-old that he lost a brother, and then straight away I just told him that it was a sister because yeah, I had to process it. I was screaming. I couldn't believe it after all the negligence. This video here is to talk about obviously the journey and how we actually lost our daughter and how long people took to come and them saying that it could be this and it could be that and then giving me this for that and then another doctor saying actually you don't need that and then just the pure confusion that we are left with and the turmoil and the pain of just trying to understand how can you get that wrong. I was screaming and I was like, how could they have got that wrong? And basically when we got through the weekend, like I processed it straight away, like to the point where I threw the gift that I was made with his loving memory because I realized that I need to process the fact that we lost a girl rather than a boy. The girl that we thought we knew we was having, but then we were told it was a boy. Like I said, I kept repeating, a boy, a boy, a boy. And the doctor kept saying, yes, it is a boy, it is a boy. To then find out after when I didn't think anything could get any worse, after my first surgery, after first losing a baby, losing a whole baby, then my first surgery not working, then having a second surgery, to then just finally getting out of there. Might I add that I came out in a nightie, not done up at the back with my pants out and my pads showing. I came out because I just needed to get out of there. I didn't care about anything. They couldn't find my clothes. They couldn't find anything from QA. I didn't care. I just got in that transport and I knew I was coming home and needed to come back to my family. I went to my mum, then I came back to the A team, which is a team, and we were supposed to have another member, but we lost that member. But we explained to Amori that they're always going to be in our hearts. That little boy is always going to be in our hearts, and they're always going to be looking over us. To then find out actually it was that girl that we prayed for. Because when they said it was a boy, I couldn't really believe that because I just thought, we were told about something about the two lions. But when they did come for a meeting with us on the Monday, obviously me just literally feeling like I had died inside all weekend. And then Akeem obviously processing it, not how he needed to, but just waiting for the appointment on Monday to actually find out from them how they could have got it wrong. The person who told us on the phone already said that she genuinely cares about us and that, you know, they could have never have told unless we decided to do the post-mortem. So basically, she'd already admitted that they should have never said that to us and that, like, she's sorry and that this is why she wanted to tell me in person, but tell us in person. But regardless of whether she told us in person or on the phone, that news couldn't have broke us anymore. So basically, when they came on the Monday and tried to explain themselves about, oh, that doctor shouldn't have said it, and now we're going to be a case study, and now they're going to, find out how they could do better, and these things just happen, and they could have never knew. And I asked them, how often does this happen? And they basically said, like, it does happen, but not a lot. And, they offered their apologies and they understand. And they even said that they understand that my care has not been right and they know that I should have been treated better. They said all that. So we know that there's been NHS negligence, a lot of it. We know that there's a case here. Everybody that we've revealed it to has said no, has said how, has said why. And we still don't understand that even after a 2-hour meeting with the people that had to break the news to us. Then the very next day after, this meeting concluded on me saying, add this to the complaint, me speaking for 2 hours, Akeem speaking, us just still not understanding how they could have got that wrong when the physical baby was outside of me and you can actually have early scans. So how do you get that wrong when you can have early scans? We didn't get it. We just don't get it. We still don't get it now, and nobody else does. And people are still constantly asking us, how did they get it wrong? How? And we still don't know that. So we want to know if you've been through this, if they've ever got your gender wrong, because what I can tell you is what it feels like. It felt like another loss. After everything that we'd been through, losing the baby, processing that we've lost the baby, telling our son, like, just understanding this, like, just trying to understand, like, from each process, from one to the other, from mistake after mistake, how could this one really be made? When you can have an early scan, when the baby was outside of me, when you looked at the baby and you said it was a boy, when I said later in the night, how do they know it's a boy? Because there's things that the professionals can tell, they said. So, our question to you guys is, have you ever been in this situation? How do you handle NHS negligence? How have you handled it? Contact us. We want to know, because when people want to call us just to talk about it, or when people ask us what it is they can do, there's nothing anyone can do. No compensation will make us feel any better. But what is going to give us some kind of peace to move forward is answers. What is going to give us some kind of peace to move forward is justice. What is going to give us some kind of peace to move forward is laying our daughter to rest and having good people around us, good genuine people, and people that may share this video so that we can try and get the best NHS negligence support. Tell us your success stories if you have any. Tell us about your negligence so that we can add towards this case and show that they're not making pregnant people a priority, that they're not making people with mental health a priority, that they're not making people who are high risk a priority, that they're not doing enough, that they're making continuous mistakes, and that's not fair, that the people who made all these mistakes with us need to acknowledge that, and that we need to get like answers, and that we need to get that acknowledgement that they should have done better with us. We need help as the mother, the proud mother and the proud father of Azari Jordan Bow, that we thought was a boy, that we've now accepted was a girl, is an angel baby who will always be looking down on us and who will always be part of this family. Akeem Bow and Joella Olivia Williams are the parents of Azari Jordan Bow, and we always will be. However, to get justice for our daughter, people need to know that they should have done better. To get justice for Azari Jordan Bow, we need the support. This is beyond me. This is beyond Akeem. This is beyond Creative Link and Lunchtime Kitchen and Birmingham Base. This is beyond everything that we've ever known. Any pain, any loss. This is our whole daughter. So if there's any help that anyone can offer in terms of negligence, NHS negligence, support, in terms of legal advice, in terms of where to go from here, just let us know, because anything else doesn't matter right now. Just like the whole process, nothing else mattered until we heard the heartbeat. Nothing else mattered because our daughter was still fighting. But something went wrong here. We were failed somewhere.
My whole aims of this purpose of the video is the word that we're speaking on, and it's the neglect of our daughter, the neglect of Joella Williams. You've got to understand as well that I could have been in a position where it could have been my baby or my woman. How on earth would I have been able to make that choice? How would I have been able, with everything that's going on, regardless, been able to make a choice like that, knowing that the hospital didn't they didn't have an urgency towards our daughter and my girlfriend, my partner. And what we want to do is we want to raise awareness, help, support in every way possible. We want people to reach out to Joella, mainly females that have been been around the same circumstances, that have lost a child. And this doesn't matter whether it's miscarriage or stillbirth. All of these things, if it happens, affects a life form. My whole aim and my whole goals was we need to make sure that people are better seen to, that people are not feeling neglected, that people have an actual fighting chance under something that says they're going to keep us safe and protect us and make sure we get the best sense of care.
We're waiting on the post-mortem results. We're going to see our daughter for the last time on Monday at the funeral home. We're going to plan the funeral on Tuesday. Obviously, we have no choice but to be strong because there's a child here, Akeem's stepson, my son, our boy, Akeem's little best friend. We've got to keep going because there's still a child here on earth. But we're never going to forget about Azari Jordan Bow, who is in heaven. Because those two children were going to be... Amori is the heartbeat outside of my body. And so was Azari going to be that. We decided to keep the same name because we realised it's unisex. Azari was also going to be the heartbeat outside my body. Amori is the heartbeat outside my body. Azari was also going to be the heartbeat outside my body. Unfortunately, her heart has stopped beating. But our hearts will never stop beating for her. I'm going to leave it here because there's ticking in my head from the shunt, from the surgery. And basically, I'm glad to have got this out because we're getting a lot of questions. So hopefully this can clear everything up and hopefully we can get as much support as possible.
I thank everybody for viewing this, and I know that it's a difficult video to go through and bear, but right now I didn't even want to do the video. So imagine the feeling, the feeling, what position I'm in now. We literally just want help towards knowing and understanding how we can move past the loss of our daughter, the loss of our child.